taken me in because of the fact that I lived in the Soviet Union. I'm just a patsy.
Years of prejudice and hatred with the signing of one order, all approved by the United States Supreme Court. We're allowed to do it because we are now in a merit-based world.
That was President Trump today boasting about ending hiring protections for federal contractors. And by doing so, he highlights the stark reality we face. It took him days to reverse decades of hard-fought progress on civil rights. On Tuesday, Trump revoked an executive order signed by President Lyndon Johnson in 1965 that banned federal contractors from discriminating on the basis of race, gender, or religion. On Wednesday, Trump's acting attorney general told the Justice Department to pause all civil rights cases and settlements. The acting AG also called for a review of the newly signed consent decrees with police departments in Minneapolis and in Louisville, Kentucky. Both cities' mayors say they plan to carry out reforms even without the federal government. On Thursday, Trump pardoned 2 D.C. police officers convicted of misconduct in the death of an unarmed black man in 2020. The officers pursued 20-year-old Karen Hilton Brown for riding his moped on the sidewalk and tried to cover up their role in his death. And then yesterday, we learned all DEI and environmental justice offices and positions in the federal government will be terminated within 60 days. All of Trump's corrosive actions against civil rights so far this week send an unmistakable signal. The federal government can no longer be counted on to defend the rights of all of its citizens, especially if they are not white, cisgender, straight, and male. Joining me now, the Reverend Al Sharpton, host of Politics Nation on MSNBC and founder and president of the National Action Network. He's also the author of Righteous Troublemakers, Untold Stories of the Social Justice Movement in America. Rev, there is no better person for me to talk to about this. Just your reaction. I didn't see your show, so I'm sure you talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
To Donald Trump, President Trump saying he erased 60 years of prejudice.
It shows a profound bias, but even a more profound ignorance, because the Civil Rights Act that Lyndon Johnson signed, and then his protection that was revoked by Trump, that he signed 60 years ago, was to respond to bias and to respond to exclusion. In many cases, by law. You must remember, there were laws saying blacks couldn't do certain things, laws against LGBTQ, laws against women in some places. So for him to act like that now we're dealing with merit, we had merit, we just didn't have access to show our merit. And many of us that said this is how he felt, and he was saying, no, I don't, now see, he hasn't even been president a week.
Right.
And he's done all this. He's done all this in 5 days. This is what he went in there for. This is the crowd he's playing to. And we must organize, because we must remember, we only got those rights won in the first place because we fought, which is why we've been methodical and strategic. But we intend to boycott some of these companies, but we're going to do it strategically. And today, those that are with us, I took over 100 people from our regular Saturday National Action Network rally, and we went shopping in Costco's because they say, no, we're not going to be with the president. We're going to keep DEI. So we need to reward and be with our friends and our enemies. You don't want diversity in the office space, then you should have diversity in your consumer base.
There's so much to be worried about just in the realm of civil rights. But I have to tell you, I did audibly gasp when I saw the news that he ended all civil rights cases and settlements. Why? Explain to viewers why they should be concerned that the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department is basically going dark when it comes to protecting the civil rights of American citizens.
When we have, over the last several years, decades, had a civil rights division that protected voting rights, that went in the Deep South and made sure that state officials couldn't block blacks from voting, couldn't block others from access, The only way Martin Luther King and others was successful is the federal government came in and protected them. That's what a little thing, and I'm being facetious, called the Civil War was about. The Union rather than separate Confederate states. We're going back to a Confederate model now of states not having to worry about that the federal government will come in. The other thing that is an insult to the intelligence of American people, whether you're Republican or Democrat, is on the same week that you're going to pardon people that beat up police officers, that led to one police officer dying, and that assaulted people, put feces in members of Congress' office, you are now going to say, I'm removing a civil rights bureau that would protect citizens, and I'm letting some cops go that killed a man on a moped. So I'm going to let these violent criminals be pardoned. But I'm going to make sure that no one else can even have access to the federal government assuring their justice. Now, this is as twisted as you can get.
I got two questions for you. We don't have time. I'm going to ask these two questions. One, I'm sorry, but if the January 6th rioters had actually been Antifa and, pro-left people
Right.
that all the conspiracy theories say they were, do you think these folks would be pardoned?
No, not only pardoned, he would have said they didn't get enough time if they had been prosecuted and give time. But even to take your question another step, he's called nonviolent people violent.
Right.
He's called us a bunch of names, and we have not had violence. When he was president before, George Floyd happened, Ahmaud Arbery happened, Breonna Taylor happened. We had protests all over the world. I had a big protest in Washington, 200,000 people in a pandemic. No violence at ours. And when there was violence at others, we denounced it. When he was president, the only thing he said was he took a Bible, went across the street in front of a church, and had them move nonviolent protesters away so he could lecture us. Now he's coming out with executive orders to really dislodge some of the things that protected us.